Do you want to wake up feeling like you're stepping into who you're meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hope Pedraza, and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome. Hey y'all, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. I am hopping on for a solo episode today to celebrate 200 episodes on this podcast. And I wanted to do a special episode, one, to thank you for everyone who has listened, who has followed the journey of the podcast and my own journey and has supported what I'm doing here on Hopeful and Wholesome. And I'm just sending so much gratitude and love to everybody who listens. I know there's people who consistently listen to all the episodes and listen and download all of them. There's some who pop in here and there for one that interests you. And wherever you are, even if this is your first one you've ever found, that you've ever downloaded, ever listened to, thank you for being here. I started doing this during COVID. It was just a calling that I felt like this was a medium that I wanted to commit to, that I wanted to use as a way to support my community and as a way to serve. And it really grew into something that I didn't really see. Honestly, I started out, there was obviously there was an excitement starting out, because I wouldn't have done it if it didn't excite me. But I think it ended up being something that was kind of like, oh, I need to do it. Didn't do my, episode this week. And oh, I need to book guests, that kind of thing. And so there was a period of time where it got to be, I don't want to say a nuisance, but it was just like one other thing I had to do. And so kind of fell off being consistent with it for a little while there in the middle. And then last year, I just got this kind of resurgence of energy around it. And by the end of last year, I was just so hyped. I was so into it and just started falling in love with the conversations I was having. And I just, every time I would finish an interview or, had an idea for a solo episode, I would just feel so energized. And that's, for me, that's a sign that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing when it's energizing me and not draining me, right? It's a sign for anybody. It's what you're supposed to be doing. But so at the beginning of this year, I decided that I was going to double down on it. And this year I went to 2 episodes a week. So before I was just launching 1 episode a week. And then I went to 2. And I thought, well, let me just see. I gave myself the grace. Like, let me just see what happens. If it gets to be too much and it ends up being kind of what it was for a period of time in 2021, where it was like, oh, it's one more thing I have to do. Then, I'll go back down to just 1 episode a week. Because that's the great thing about running your own business. You can do whatever the heck you want to do. And so, but I just wanted to see what happened. And I ended up launching over 100 episodes in this year alone. Like, that's how much I loved it. There were weeks where I launched more than 2 episodes. I did a 9-part mini series of solo episodes. I did another 4-part mini series of solo episodes. Like, I just fell in love with it. I think part of it is me as an introvert, that this is a great way for me to speak my heart and speak my truth and be real and authentic in a way that doesn't totally drain me from being around a lot of people and being, around the energy of a lot of people. And I also think I have a defined throat center in my human design chart. And I think that's the other piece, is it's just a powerful way for me to spread my message and my word and my purpose and speak my truth and that whole thing. So I think it's just, I don't know. I think I just love it. And I have some really incredible guests lined up for next year. And I have a lot of ideas for what's coming in the future. And I just want to thank you for being here and listening and following along. And I was really excited to hit a milestone in downloads this year that I had a goal to hit by the end of the year. I ended up hitting it by I think it was October. So that was pretty exciting for me. And so, yeah, I'm just sending my heartfelt gratitude for everybody who's listened. And I wanted to do this episode because, and full transparency, I actually recorded this episode yesterday, or maybe it was a day or so ago. And I just didn't feel good about it. I did the whole thing. I literally recorded the whole thing. And I got done with it and I was kind of felt like, I don't know. I didn't feel great after I did it. And then I woke up today and I was like, I got to redo it. Like, I just can't leave it like that. I felt
that, and I'll talk about one of these in my points today that I want to share, but I just felt like I wasn't going deep like I wanted to, and it just didn't hit like I wanted it to hit. So here I am recording it again, and I've already started it a whole new way. Like I just threw out the notes. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna scratch it and start over. And let this be a lesson that it's okay to scratch it and start over. And I've learned that that's not one of the lessons on my list that I wanted to share, but I have learned that it's okay to scratch it and start over. And for me as a three line, I mean, that's literally how I live my life. It's by trial and error. Like scratch it, try it again, scratch it, try it again. So anyway, I'm just in my full embodiment of my three line today, and I wanted to re-record this in a way that felt better and felt good and felt like the message that I wanted to get. Because in all honesty, 200 episodes is a big deal. Like I feel like it's a big deal. It's a lot of commitment. I've interviewed over 100 guests. And like I said, I recorded over 100 episodes in this year alone, or almost 100 episodes in this year alone. It wasn't quite, it was close to 100. And yeah, no, actually, it will be. By the end of the year, it'll be over 100 episodes in this year alone. So yeah, when I say that I want to use this time to celebrate, I want to use this episode to celebrate and invite you to celebrate with me. And just as to thank you for showing up and listening and supporting this community. I have some other fun things that are in the books for next year too, just in terms of connecting my community for those who maybe aren't big on social media. Because I know not everybody who listens here is big on social media, but that for a way to just to kind of connect this community. And I have random people reach out to me on Instagram sometimes, which I absolutely love. So please, if you want to reach out to me, never hesitate to reach out. Instagram, Facebook, email, whatever. And I love hearing from you. I love hearing what's resonating. I love hearing your takeaways. I love hearing what you want to hear more of. And I'm sure I'll mention this again before the end of the episode. But that being said, I wanted to include this episode, and I'm going into the 5 big lessons that I've learned through the podcast. And these are lessons. I initially wanted to do it about lessons of things like I learned from like the episodes on the podcast, but then I ended up, I want to make this more about lessons in and around the podcast. So yes, some lessons that I've learned from, listening to different guests and having so many really amazing conversations with interesting people, but then also just like the process of the podcast, right? Like being in it, the process, the commitment I made to it, that whole thing. So I want to go through, and I will say I have 5, but there's kind of some like many things within. So it's probably more than 5, but 5 sounded like a good number. So we're going to go with 5. So some of these are new concepts. Some of these are like reinforced things that, I know, and I mean, we all know, but just kind of reinforced throughout the course of the episodes. So the first one, and as cliche as it might sound, the first one I want to mention, big lessons that I've learned, and this is really more of a reinforced thing, is that every body is different. And I know I've said that, I've said that a million times. Again, I know it's cliche. I know. Well, but I couldn't leave that one out because after listening to over 100 guests, interviewing over 100 guests on this show, and doing my own work with dozens and dozens of clients, working with hundreds of women in my brick and mortar business, it like you cannot ignore this fact. And I feel like I need to bring it forth because we're inundated with so much information and so much misinformation. And I know a lot of times we're looking for like the one thing, right? The magic bullet thing that's going to fix all the things, or it's just like, tell me the one thing that works. Or, we hear this one thing worked for your sister, your neighbor, and so it has to work for you. Or the opposite of that, right? Like you found the thing that works for you and you want to tell everybody, but it's like, here's the thing though, it worked for you and your body doesn't mean it's going to work for somebody else and their body. We are literally 100% unique beings, right? Our cells, or even if you share DNA with somebody, your body is still different. Our microbiome is as unique as our fingerprint, right? Our emotions, our trauma, the events in our life, all of that shapes who we are on a cellular level. And so it's literally impossible to say that there's any one size fits all. This one thing rings true for every single person. Now, that being said, the caveat here is because yes, I have like the method I use with my clients, right? And yeah, it's the same method I use with all my clients. It's the same process, but it's within the process that the protocol is different, right? It's customized within the main parts of the process, right? The methodology is the same, but the little pieces inside of there are all different. So I think that's kind of something to bring to light too, is like, yeah, there are some things uh, that might be true for everybody, right? That might be true for everybody, but it's just there's nuances that there's still levels of customization. So if you're looking for the one thing, just know there is no one thing, but know that you can find something that maybe works for a lot of people and you can tweak it to make it your own. And that's the point I want to make here. There is no one size fits all, right? There is no one thing. Even when you hear like multiple miraculous stories of things that have worked well for lots of people, it still doesn't mean it's going to work for you. It does, I mean, it's the same with anything. It's the same in business, right? And if you're listening and you have a business or you're starting a business, it's the same there too. Like this lesson runs across so many things. Because and don't I know this the truth? Because I've been there before. I'm literally trying everything that everybody else is doing rather than what do I want to do, right? And it doesn't work. And especially if you're going it and with the energy of like, oh, it worked for them, it has to work for me. Like that's not the vibe. So just keep that at the forefront of your mind when you're looking through information. If you're seeing the thing that it's like guaranteed to work, blah, 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 right? Just again, if it's something where it's like there's a methodology, but there's a way to customize it to make it your own, yeah, that could be something that's more, more apt to work. But just know everybody is different. Number 2, lesson. Now, this one is kind of a two-parter thing. Biohacking, I do believe that biohacking is the key to longevity, but the caveat here is it's not just one thing. Let me explain what I mean. So biohacking, and I've had multiple episodes, and I think I've only had a couple that have the actual name like biohacking in the title, but biohacking is anything that helps you with longevity, right? So I had an episode about red light, about cold therapy, about sound therapy, right? We've talked about so many things, and there's so many biohacking things out there now, and I think I want to say, and I wanted to add the caveat about how it's not just one thing because it's all the little things that add up. And that's with everything, right? It's not the one choice you made to eat the salad instead of the French fries, right? That's going to make the difference in your nutrition. It's all the things added up. It's the compilation. It's the compound effect. And I believe it's the same with the biohacking. I think with the biohacking, you can get really neurotic about it. And there's so many things you can do that you end up, your life revolves around, oh, got to do my sauna and I got to do a cold therapy and I got to go do my grounding. And then I got to wake up at this time so I can look at the red light. And you get so caught up that your whole life is scheduled around all these biohacking things that it kind of defeats the purpose because now you're building kind of this stress and pressure around all of these things that are supposed to be making you feel better. And so I think just understanding that, yes, biohacking is the key to longevity, but understanding that it's not just the one thing that's going to build your longevity forever kind of releases the pressure to have to find the one thing or, be really dogmatic about all the things. I think when you can dabble here and there in the things and yeah, you can build a routine around certain things. So maybe something, maybe grounding is something really easy. You can go out in the morning and you can stand on the ground in the grass when the sun's coming up, right? You can kind of do the habit stacking thing. We talked about this in the sound therapy episode. If you go back and listen to my episode, it was last week about sound therapy. We talked about habit stacking, right? And so with the sound therapy, she was saying, you can do it while you're reading or while you're, taking a bath or working on it. It's just kind of in the background. So it's kind of a multitasking thing. But I think a lot of times with the biohacking, if we can do it like that, where we're not just totally, I guess, rearranging your life is what I want to say around it or putting so much pressure on, these one thing is going to work. It's all the little things that add up. And I think the biohacking stuff is important. I do think it's supportive for our bodies and for our health and our overall longevity. But I don't like when it becomes this pressure, hardcore thing to have to do, right? I think that's the point I'm trying to make. Like when you are finding where you have to do this, you should do this. And you know me, I'm not big on the shoulds and I don't like when we should ourselves. And so and I think that kind of defeats the purpose too. If we're going into all these things, well, I should be doing this and I should be doing that. Then again, that's not the vibe. Like we don't want to bring that energy into the things that we're doing. And so when we can find things that are easy to integrate into our lives, whether it's, like I said, if it's, we can do the red light therapy and the grounding, we can do, you're building in your sauna a few times a week or two, three, right? When we can build it just regularly, but not super regimented, I think it's going to benefit us more. I'm going to have more episodes around different elements of biohacking next year, just to kind of reinforce some other things. But I wanted to mention that one because there's so much out there, and I just feel like sometimes that you can just feel the pressure to like do all the things. And I just I don't think that's the point. I just don't think that's the point. Okay. The third one I want to mention about lessons. This one is the big one. This one I feel like is multifaceted. There's different parts to it. I believe that the most miraculous healings or stories were when people tuned into their inner wisdom, their innate wisdom. Those are the most miraculous healing stories. So I've had people on this podcast who have incredible stories, right? I had women who had near-death experiences who literally crossed over to the other side and came back, like God sent them back, right? I've had people who have come back from cancer and multiple diagnoses and on the brink of like suicide. Like I've had a lot of really miraculous stories. And while yes, there are some aspects of physical healing involved in, working on their mental health, that whole thing involved in their healing, the most miraculous stories always have this common thread of them becoming in tune with that inner wisdom, that innate wisdom, or their intuition, whatever word you want to use there. It was really them coming back to their true essence and understanding their true nature and understanding themselves on this soul level, right? And it's going deep into that spiritual piece that I know can be like weird and uncomfortable for some people to talk about because it's outside of a conventional thought, I guess. But really, I mean, this is why I love this piece, because this concept aligns with my entire mission of holistic, WHOLE healing, right? It's being able to put all this together because, yeah, there are things going on in the physical body, but as I've mentioned dozens of times on this show, there is always an energetic root cause. There's always an emotional root cause of what's going on in the physical body. And when we're able to tune into our inner wisdom, that innate wisdom that we all have, we're able to understand what's going on in our bodies on that energetic level. And that's when that's when things start happening. I think that so often there's resistance around this piece. This is multiple reasons. And there's a lot of rabbit holes I could go down on this one. And I'm going to try to keep it reined in so I don't go down too many rabbit holes. But I do want to mention a few things because I think this is important. The first thing I want to mention, I've had multiple guests on the show who are, they've been mediums, psychics, intuitives, right? They can talk to the other side. They can see and talk to spirits, the whole thing. And all of them have said the same thing, that we all possess the power to do that. Like we see these people who are mediums and intuitives and all this, empaths, all that, as like they have special powers, right? And yes, I do believe in spiritual gifts, and I do believe that God gives certain people certain gifts, but I do think that some people do have a stronger urge to do those things. And I think that's where the spiritual gifts come in. But I also believe that we actually all have the power to do that. I think we came on this planet with the power to do that. It's just whether we tune into it or not, right? It's like tuning into the right radio station. And some of us are more in tune than others. And that's why people, like, you can train yourself. Like there's things you can do to be more in tune with that side of you, that more spiritual, intuitive side of you, right? Where you can hear things and see things, right? There's the clairvoyance, clairaudience, like all these things. You can tune yourself into those things. It's just whether that's what you want to do or not. And the point I want to make there is because I do believe that we all have the power to do that. I think that that piece is so underestimated and so misunderstood, maybe, or just overlooked, because I think we question the spiritual part of our healing. And I think more and more, I will say this, I do think we are in an age where so much of us as a collective are going kind of through this spiritual awakening and recognizing that we aren't just a body, right? We are a soul and a body. We're not just a physical body. And I think more and more of us are recognizing that. So I do think that this is going to be, I don't want to say it's going to become mainstream because I still think there's going to be resistance to it, but I do think it's going to be a little bit more mainstream than maybe it has been over the past century. But I think there's a lot of resistance to it. And this is where I said I could go down a lot of rabbit holes, but I do want to bring it up because I think it's important. We question, first of all, we question the spiritual piece and we push it aside as less important or less powerful when really that's where the power is. That's where the power is. I think we push it aside and question it for the fear of our own power. Like, what does that mean? If we have the power to do that, what does that really mean, right? We fear that power that we actually have. That's within all of us. It's that God sense inside all of us, that God divinely placed in us, that innate wisdom, that inner wisdom, right? What does that mean? It's the fear of that power. I think the other thing is years of suppression, right? It is not in the interest of those in power to have any of us tapped into that power, that innate power that we all possess, right? And so you can go back and look, I mean, for centuries, you can see how much the spiritual side of things was suppressed. Every culture has had this, like, has a spiritual side to it. That's right. You think about it. You think there's like the Celtic culture in Ireland, right? There's all, there's the witch trials in around England and like there's all of that. There's this spiritual part, the Native Americans, super spiritual beings, right? And we were scared of them. The white men came over and were freaked out because it was the unknown, right? You look in the Mexican culture, the native cultures there, the indigenous cultures there they were all very spiritual. And when, the quote unquote civilized white men came over and was freaked out by like, what is this weird crap that they're doing? And it was just it, and they suppressed that part because that was an assertion of their power. Again, it's not in their best interest for them to tune into anything that they don't understand. And I think that's the big piece of it that I want to make here. We can talk about the patriarchy and how the, colonization suppressed the spiritual powers and all that. I could talk about that because that is, I do believe that. But I think really it comes down to the fear, first of all, like I said. And I think it's just we fear things we don't understand, right? You had these Europeans come over and the Native Americans were living here peacefully, right? This land that wasn't theirs, that wasn't the colonizers that came over, right? And they thought they were, barbarians and they thought they were savages because they didn't understand them. And they have these weird, quote unquote, weird spiritual practices, and they thought they were casting spells on them and all this stuff, right? But I think all of that, and you can go back and study the witch trials in England. And I had a friend of mine, a gal who went over there, and there was like this pilgrimage that you can take with a group, and you go where all the witch trials happened, and where all these women were burned at the stake because they thought they were witches, which a lot of them were just spiritual healers. That's literally, I mean, not I say a lot of them, that's what they were. And they were tuned into these pieces, right? Had these spiritual gifts that people didn't understand. And so there's a lack of understanding. We fear things we don't understand. And I think that's why this spiritual healing, like the whole energy healing thing and spiritual healing thing. And I mentioned before when I did my little 9-part mini series about these pieces that I like, I guess I feared bringing forward in my work, in what I do with people, because for that reason is like, people think it's weird. People think it's unconventional because it is unconventional, right? And maybe it is weird. Who knows? It's weird to some people. But these are the pieces that matter. And I think if we really understand what I was saying before, that we all possess that power, we all have that innate inner wisdom within ourselves. We have all the divine hand of God placed that inside all of us. And it's just whether we are able to tune into it or not. If we can understand that piece, then we can recognize that the spiritual piece is, I mean, honestly, that's the most important part. It's not just part of it. It is it, right? That's the piece. That's where the power is. All of the power is there. It's within those pieces. And going back to my original point for my number 3 lesson, these miraculous healing stories, these big transformations people had, like, yeah, sure, they had some physical things that were transformed, but the real work came from this connection with that inner innate wisdom, with that spiritual piece of themselves, recognizing it, acknowledging it, honoring it, speaking to it, and feeding that part of them, right? And I think that this is going to be, and really this goes into my part 3 and 4, because the other part I wanted to say, everything all goes back to the power of the soul, right? the biohacking thing, all of it, like everything we're doing goes back to us just getting back to that essence, like the power of the soul. The biohacking stuff, we think about it. Okay, grounding is the thing that keeps coming up for me, and I'm not sure why, but think of grounding, right? Grounding is you just going out and you're stepping on the ground, you're connecting with the electromagnetic field of the earth. You are connecting with the earth. You are connecting, you're connecting with the frequency of the earth. That, right, we are all made of the same thing. We're made of the same thing that the earth is saying. So we are connected. Like when you have that unity consciousness and understand that we are all one, we're all made from the same thing that the stars are made from. We're all made from the same thing that the earth is made from. All of this is about just connecting with ourselves and the power of the soul, right? We think about the red light therapy or the cold therapy, all of that. It's building the power up in the cells. It's just reconnecting us back to that source of power that's within all of us. I just believe that. And I think that is a big lesson, that it literally all goes back to the power of the soul. I had the episode about the microdosing, and I have an episode coming out in the new year about macrodosing, plant medicine, and microdosing, and kind of a debate about that. And there's medical, physical parts to that benefit us, but then and that I love this conversation that I have with the guy that I interview, and you'll see what I talk about in the episode. But we talk about the physical parts because he is working with the medical community to kind of help with some physical pieces that the microdosing and macrodosing can help with. But the other piece, the biggest piece, is going through this spiritual journey of coming back to ourselves. Like that's where the big transformations happen. You can go back and listen to I have another episode that you can go back and listen to about plant medicine. And he has he does plant medicine journeys in Peru. I mean, they have their own little retreat place in Peru where they do plant medicine journeys with people. And, he was an addict. And it took one ayahuasca ceremony for him. All of a sudden, he like saw God and met his soul and had basically given up all, spiritual pieces of himself, didn't believe in God or anything and any other higher power. And then all of a sudden, do you see what I'm saying? I just want to make the point, like it all goes back to the power of the soul. And while, yeah, you can brush off the spiritual stuff as woo or fluffy or weird or whatever, but I don't think it can be denied that we have that power within all of us and we have the answers within all of us. I think that we look outside of ourselves for the answers. And yes, I'm not saying that there aren't people to help us. And that's why people like me, there's people like me, there's spiritual guides, people that exist to help us along the path, but they don't have the answers. I don't have the answers. I just help guide you to find the answers. Right? So we have all the answers we need within ourselves. It's just being able to find them. And again, going back to just the power of the soul and understanding that this spiritual piece, as we continue to journey in this kind of new age that we're in. And actually, it was funny because I was just listening to a book the other day and she was talking about, so remember in 2012, when not everybody, but there's this huge thing about how, the world was going to end because the Mayan calendar ended on December 21st, 2012. So we're like, oh, the world's going to end because the Mayan calendar doesn't go past 2012. When really it wasn't about the world ending. It was about a new era starting, right? We ended one era, we're starting a new era, the age of Aquarius, which is we're becoming more aligned with or more in tune with like these spiritual pieces of our existence. And a lot of people had a lot of crazy things happen to them around that time, 2012, 2013, a lot of spiritual awakenings, a lot of huge shifts. And they're like literally for me, that was the same year that I got a divorce and started a business all in the same year. So a lot of people had really intense shifts in their life happen. And I believe that that was the start of where we are now, where more and more of us are becoming more in tune with the fact that, yeah, we're not just a body, we are a spirit in a body. And we have to honor both pieces and we can't separate those pieces anymore. The conventional system, conventional wisdom, conventional medicine, all of that has led us to believe that the mind and the body are separate and that but we can't separate them. There's no way to separate them. It's one and the same. And I think when we can hone in on those pieces and understand just how powerful that is and recognize, like I was saying before, how we've just gone through generations of suppressing those parts of ourselves and hiding those parts of ourselves and fearing those parts of ourselves, that we can see it's not to be feared, like it's to be embraced. And this is the power within all of us to live with impact and share our gifts with the world. We're all here to play a part of the puzzle, of the collective puzzle. And when we're hiding those parts of us and when we're suppressing those parts of us and not owning that true power that lies within us, that's power of the soul, then we're dimming our light, we're dimming our gifts, we're hiding our gifts, we're not sharing them. I feel like we're doing a disservice. And I think it's disrespectful to the rest of us. Like, why are you hiding your gifts? Like, just share it with us. We're here to reap the benefits from all of the gifts we have to share with each other. So I know that was a long-winded, and really that was two. That was number 3 and 4 because they go together. But that's a huge one for me. And just it was reinforced over and over again. I mean, I know I've had my own journey this year, and we're on a continuous journey. But really, the past 6 months have just been completely transformational for me, and just growth and change and things, and how, like, literally right now both of my businesses are evolving so much. Like, there's so many changes happening, and yeah, it's a little scary because it's like you're going into the unknown again, but I'm trusting that I'm following where my intuition is leading. I'm following where I feel God leading me and calling me to, and I'm just gonna have faith that this is, that I'm going in the right direction. And this concept was continuously reinforced by the guests that I interviewed and my own journey. And so I just felt like this is a really big concept to bring to you in my top 5. So the last one I want to talk about, the number 5 I want to talk about. And I mentioned this when I did my 9-part series, my Awaken by Design series, I mentioned this, but I want to mention it again because I think, again, this is kind of a common thread that's shown up over and over again for me, is recognizing that I am here to be authentic and I'm here to drop superficiality. I talk about superficiality, how it shows up a lot. It shows up in my Gene Keys as like a shadow of some of my Gene Keys in my Awaken by Design series. And when I found that piece out, and I'm continuing to uncover it, like I literally just had a conversation with one of my mentors the other day because it's showing up again. And I'm like, and honestly, I think that's why I'm re-recording this. I told you I recorded this episode already. And I feel like I was like kind of going surface level, like, wait, what am I doing? Like, this is not what I'm here for. So I'm here to be authentic, and I'm here to drop superficiality. And this is leading me to the word I want to choose for next year. If you're like me, I don't know if you do what I do. I choose a word for the year, right? It's kind of the theme for the year, and pretty much already decided what mine's going to be for next year. But my husband and I meet at the end of the year, and we like plan our goals and our intentions, and we talk through it, and we pick a word for the year. So I encourage you, if you don't do that, to do that, because it's a really powerful practice. And if it stresses you out to pick one word, you can pick 2. It doesn't have to just be one, but it really is a great way to set just. Again, it's an intention, and it's kind of a theme that you can go back to. It's kind of just a core value that you can trust and follow throughout the year. But for me, this has been showing up, this dropping superficiality has been showing up over and over and over and over again. And I mean, it's been in the last like decade, but just now that I'm recognizing it and more aware of it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's showing up so much. And when I say, if you haven't listened to the episode I'm talking about, what I'm talking about is superficial in terms of like surface level, right? Like not going deep, not superficial as in like fake and inauthentic. But I mean, in a way, it is inauthentic though. I mean, if you're not going deep, it's inauthentic. So I mean, I guess it is the same thing. But for me, the superficial is just surface level. It's not going deep. And so for me, this is now a question that I'm asking myself when I'm feeling like confused or frustrated, or maybe I'm out of alignment. This is kind of a question I'm asking. Where am I not going deep? Where could I go deeper? And this is, I just announced the other day that I'm now changing my retreat. I had planned my retreat for February, and the more I started planning it, the more I realized I was trying to cram so much into just a couple days. It was like 2 full days and like a little bit of another day. And then I had this in-person workshop that I did a couple weeks ago with a local group in town. It's for minority female entrepreneurs. And it was about human design and applying human design to business and wellness. And I freaking loved it. Like I was so energized after that. I was so amped. We had such good conversations. And I was like left thinking like, I want more of this, like more in-person experiences like this, where I can have these deep conversations with people. People have these like mind blown moments. I'm witnessing like it, I just loved it. And so as I kept thinking about it, I'm like, you know what? Here's the superficiality thing showing up again with my retreat, because yeah, I was going to tie in a little bit of human design to my retreat, but I was keeping it more general. Like, oh, we'll do some movement. No, that's not what I'm here to do. I am not here to go surface level. So I won't say I scratched it because I did, because I'm still doing it. So just in case you didn't know, and I'll put it in the show notes too, I'm changing it now. So it's April 3rd through 5th. I'm moving it to April. I'm adding another day. So it's another whole day to get in, because I also wanted to create some spaciousness for people to like integrate things, and maybe they want to do things by themselves, or again, so you're not just doing all day every day. That defeats the purpose of a retreat. So we have more space. There's more time for one-on-one, because I also wanted to have times for the people who are there, if they want, for my attendees, to have one-on-one sessions with me for integration, so we could talk through these pieces. And the workshops that I'm doing now, all geared around human design. Yes, we're still going to do movement. We're still going to be sweating, but because it's still the Sun, Sweat, and Soul retreat, but it's going to be geared around human design and pulling out these some big concepts in human design, and then having time for one-on-one to integrate it. And it's just a full-on human design experience. And that, for me, that's going deeper. That's going deeper. Like, I want to hone in on this. I want to go deeper, and with that, help other women to go deep within themselves. This is me being unauthentic. This is me dropping superficiality. Like, this is how I go deeper. And once I decided to make that change, I just felt this lightness. And not that it was weighing heavy, but I don't know. I guess after I made the change, I realized that it wasn't sitting right with me, how I was planning the retreat. And so once I made the change, I just feel so light about it, and so just have a new energy around it, and just kind of this new excitement around it. And so I just wanted to share that with you as an example of this superficiality. And I challenge that for you too. And I want to leave you with this episode with just some insight for the new year for yourself. And I already mentioned maybe doing the practice where you choose a word for the year. I encourage you to do that if you've never done that before. But I challenge you too, whether or not the whole superficiality thing is in your gene keys, it doesn't matter. Like, we can all find ways we can go deeper. And I think that so many of us are held back by that. When we feel stuck, and that's a good thing for me too. When I feel like I'm stuck, that's really the question I ask myself now, is where can I go deeper, right? Where am I just staying on the surface? And so I challenge you to look at that within your own life too. Like, where are there areas where you can go deeper? Where are you playing on the surface? And where are you playing it safe? I think that's the other piece too. And I think that's what I was doing with the retreat, is playing it safe. Like, oh, I'll just make it a general, like, oh yeah, it's like a wellness spiritual retreat. And it's just safe, right? It's just playing it safe. No, it's not what I'm here to do. If you were in my world at all, if you're listening to this podcast, that's not what you're here to do. We're not here to play safe. We're not here to take the easy way. We're not here to play on the surface, right? We're here to go deep. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in my community, because you wouldn't have resonated with anything that I'm saying. So ask yourself those questions for the new year. Where can I go deeper? Where can I drop superficiality? And where am I playing it safe? Right? These are all questions we can ask ourselves. And I'm here to embody that. Now I'm here to embody that in the new year. And that's the energy I'm bringing with me into the new year. I'm bringing into the new year. I feel like a lot of times, and maybe you're like me, you get to the end of the year and you kind of reassess, because I do this, like, look back at my intentions and goals. And for me, being like, I say recovered perfectionist, but I don't think I'm fully recovered. I'm still in the process. I'm working on it, y'all. I'm working on it. But I look at my goals and I'm like, oh, I didn't hit this one. Oh, I didn't hit this one, right? Didn't do this. And so all I can see are like all the things that I didn't do and I didn't accomplish. And while there's always some that I did, the ones that I didn't accomplish always stick out more. And it's annoying, honestly, it's annoying. I annoy myself with it. But if you're like me, you might come to the end of the year like that. And I came across my list the other day. It's in a journal that I have, the back of a journal that I have that I'm still using. And I found myself doing that, like, crap, I didn't do this and I didn't do this and didn't hit this goal. And then I'm like, but then I saw some that I did hit. And like I mentioned before, that I hit a milestone in my downloads for my podcast, and I surpassed that. Like, that's a big deal. I deserve to celebrate that. And there's other things too. And then I think the other thing to recognize, and this is what I wanted to leave you with, is recognizing the accomplishments that I had that weren't on my list. Like, I think so often the whole intentions goals thing, there's for me, and this is just my perspective, maybe you don't have to agree. For me, is kind of a double-edged sword because yes, I'm not saying you should never set goals. That's dumb. But I'm just saying when you set them, there's a piece of that where you have to give yourself some grace and kind of there's this letting go that has to happen too of like releasing attachment to the outcome, right? And that's been I think that's the hard part and why I've struggled with setting goals in the past because I get so attached to the outcome that like my identity and my worth and all the things are tied up in the outcome. And so, of course, when I'm looking back at it and I didn't hit them, I'm like, I feel terrible because I've attached my identity and self-worth and all of that to it. And that's not it. Like you are not your goals. You are not your intentions, right? They are separate from you. And so if we're setting those, we're setting them as intentions, as goals, but we're releasing the outcome to know that either A, something that or something better is going to happen, or it's going to look totally different and that thing's not going to happen, but something else is going to happen, right? And I think there's a trust in God, in the universe that has to happen when we set those and understanding that, yeah, I'm setting these and this is what I want, but we also have to kind of see how things play out and have the awareness and the perspective to see that if it doesn't work out the way we wanted it to, that doesn't mean it's never going to happen. Or it can mean that these other things happen in this different way. So the outcome is going to happen in a way that we didn't expect. And so the reason I'm saying that when you're setting your goals, your intention, if that's what you do at the end of the year, like me, having the perspective that when you ask for something, it's that or something better, right? And it doesn't mean just because it hasn't happened yet, it's never going to happen. And the second part of that is acknowledging yourself for the things that you accomplished that weren't on your list. And that's the energy I'm ending this year in. I feel like yes, there were goals I didn't hit. There was financial milestones that I didn't hit. There were things that didn't happen that I wanted to happen. But for me, this was my biggest year of personal growth ever. I have evolved so I feel like I am just a completely different person than I was at this time last year. Businesses, both of them, yeah, are evolving like none other. And this, again, especially in the past 6 months, like from July to now is totally different. It's just totally different than the first half of the year. So I feel like, again, even though I didn't hit some of these goals that I made for myself, I still feel this sense of accomplishment. And then, honestly, this is a big deal for me. And I challenge you for this too, especially if you're a business owner. We get so tied up in like the financial benchmarks, the financial milestones, and making and I feel like that's been me, and especially since COVID, this is the first year that's like I could focus on growth and not just surviving with my brick and mortar business. And so, at the end of the year, the past years, it's been like, ooh, financially, it was rough because we were rebuilding from being shut down and the whole financial trauma of it all. And this is the first year for me where I can look at my financial, what happened, like the facts, right? That, yeah, maybe I didn't hit some milestones and some benchmarks I wanted, but I don't feel bad about it. And that might sound silly to say, but in the past, like I would look at it and be like, oh, again, I didn't hit it again, right? But I don't feel bad about it because I feel the sense of accomplishment with all these other things. And I feel a sense of accomplishment with that because that's a huge growth for me. That shows huge growth where I'm not tying everything into, the financial pieces of the business because there's other things that matter besides that in the business, obviously. But I feel like I'm able to see so many other areas of growth. And so I'm sharing all this. I know I went down a rabbit hole there, but I'm sharing all this because maybe that resonates with you, that you get to the end of this year and you're like looking at your goals or whatever from last year and you're like, well, crap, that didn't turn out the way I thought it was. Or maybe you had the worst year ever and nothing happened like you thought it would. But I challenge you to shift your perspective. Where can you find the areas of growth that you did have, right? It doesn't have to be in your business or your bank account or whatever. What areas of growth did you have? Because there's all been areas of growth. If we can maybe have a little bit of shift in your perspective, we can find the areas of growth. So find the areas of growth that you did have, and then use that to fuel you going into the new year. Set your intentions. If the word goal is a trigger for you, you don't like that word, that's fine. Don't use the word goals. If intentions sound better, or whatever other word you want to use for that, go into that. Bring that energy of when I'm setting this or something better, right? Something better is going to happen for me. And I think the other piece is, for me, this is what helps me, is whenever this is in the past, I would set goals, and then I would have all these stories around the goals of like how it had to happen. But that's also not how it works. It's like if you go back and listen to my episode with Kelsey about manifestation, like you have to let go of the how. And for me, that's what I have to do with the goals. Because if you're too tied up in the how and it doesn't happen that way, then it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like if you're not leaving room for God to do what he does and do things in a way that surprises you. So for me, I'm setting the goal and I'm going to release the how. Right? The how is not up to me. It's the what. This is what I want. The how is not up to me. So I challenge you to do that too. So I hope this episode serves you well. I hope that some of these lessons, maybe these are lessons you've learned from the show too, or you've learned in your own life this year. And I hope that these kind of insight and intentions going into the new year helps you and supports you and serves you, bringing the new energy into the new year. I send so much love and gratitude for you for listening to the show. I thank you for any reviews and that you've left, because that helps other people find this show, and any shares. And I ask that you continue to do that. Share and review. If you haven't left a review, go leave one. This helps more people find the show. This is something I do. And again, this is a way I want to serve. Like I don't make money from the show, right? This isn't to make money. This is to serve. This is to give back. This is to share my heart and my soul in hopes that it helps somebody else on their journey. So if it's served you, if it's helping you, I ask that you share it to help someone else. And that's right. Share the love and pass it on and all of that. So that I think it's all about paying it forward. And that's what I want this show to be. I just want to be in a way that I can pay it forward, and then that you would use it to pay it forward to somebody else that it can serve, that it can help, that it can support. So thank you again. I love all of you. I thank you. And I stay tuned for more. I have really amazing guests coming next year. And I have some fun things to just kind of connect with the community and find a way just to build more community around who's listening here. So stay in touch, or stay tuned for that. And I was going to say stay in touch, and I'll put a little link to a freebie in the show notes so that you can get my little freebie and get on the email list, so that if you're not already on my email list, you can get on, so you can be in touch and in the loop with all the things that are happening. And then too, with my new retreat coming in the new year, there's time now. If you're not on the wait list, I'll do that too. I'll put the show notes. I'll put the link in the show notes for the wait list. There's a little discount that's available for a little while longer. So if it's speaking to you, and if the human design piece is intriguing, even if you don't really know what human design is, you don't have to have experience with human design to benefit from what we're doing on the retreat. So it's going to be incredible. Like I cannot tell you how excited I am for this. I know I said it before when I launched it, but I have this new level of excitement because I'm so much more clear on the experience I want to curate for the ladies who are coming to this experience. And so your world is going to be rocked, and I can't wait to share it with you. So I'll leave the link to that in the show notes as well. Thank you again. I wish you and your family happy holidays, happy new year, and I'll see you all next time.
Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast, and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I'd love to know what you find useful in these episodes so I can know how to provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics you'd like to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's @TheHopePedraza, or you can visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.